Hi friends, welcome to Brooke Does Yoga. My name is Brooke. Let's do some yoga together. Today we're going to be doing some hand and wrist stretching and strengthening. I've talked about this a lot in my videos so far because it's a really common question or complaint that I hear by many different types of yoga practitioners, whether you be new to yoga or a longtime practitioner. And that's just because we don't do a lot of things in our daily lives that require us to put a lot of weight on our hands. And our hands do so much for us all day. And we don't really do anything for them, honestly, when we're thinking about our, typical fitness, stretching, strengthening routines. They don't have too much to do with our hands. So I love teaching different ways to get us thinking about our hands and the way we use them, all of the little muscles and tendons that go into these magical things that we have at the end of our arms that do everything for us all the time. In particular with yoga, because so much of what we do involves flat palms, straight fingers, big wide hands, which again is different from most of what we do in our day-to-day lives, which is, writing, typing, driving, right? Everything is kind of this claw position. We don't do a lot of just walking around with our big high hands. So it's a different position. It's a different shape that our hands are not used to being in. And then on top of that, again, putting weight onto them in that position. So this is just kind of a cool way to start to think about your hands and all of the amazing things that they do for us. We'll do a quick little flow, get the whole body warmed up and involved, and then we'll get into the hands. Any props that you'd like, you're welcome to have. I won't be demonstrating with any today. And we'll start all the way down on our backs. So go ahead and come down onto your mat. Any way that's comfortable for you. You might just have the soles of the feet to the floor and come into a constructive rest pose with the knees in together and the feet out wide. And even here, start to feel into the backs of the shoulders, the backs of your arms, the backs of your forearms, spinning the palms up towards the ceiling. And just start to notice all of the places that are touching your mat or the floor, and any places that are not. And just start to notice. Maybe bringing in some small movements, little rolls of the arms, just again noticing what's here. And take a moment and notice your breath. Good, and then start to walk your feet back, hip width, knees pointing straight up towards the sky. And hug both knees in towards the chest. We might curl up a little bit, rolling into a little ball. We might just hug the knees in and keep the back down on the mat, anything that feels comfortable. And start to move the knees and the hips in any way that feels good to you today. maybe circles, maybe kind of an egg beater shape. Good, and then bring both knees together. Take your arms out wide like a T. Keep your palms facing up and press the whole back of your arm down onto the mat or your floor. And then hug your knees in and drop both knees over towards the right. Reclined twist, and see if you can keep that outer arm line sealed down to the mat. And again here, just start to notice what parts of your arms are touching the floor, the backs of your hands, your fingernails, your shoulder blades, and maybe what parts are not. Good, and then bring your right hand to the top of your left leg and turn your gaze to the right as well, so the same direction as your knees. And then with your left hand, start to explore a little bit. See if you can keep as much of the arm as possible on the floor as you start to move it in a big half circle. I don't know if you can see my arm back there. I'll lift it up a little bit. But I'm just kind of moving it around in a half circle here. And we can wiggle the fingers a little bit or move the wrist as we are making this half circle. Just starting to become aware of what's here. What feels good? What feels funky? Yeah. We might bend the elbow a little bit, see how that feels as we circle around. Just exploring your arm, all of the muscles, tendons, ligaments, fascia that make up all of the movements that we can do with this one limb. Good. Then on your next inhale, release the right hand, bring the knees back to center, hug the knees in close, reach through your fingertips, press the arms down, and drop both knees over towards the left. And as they drop, you might find that the arm starts to peel off of the mat a little bit. That's okay. Again, just something to notice. And for a minute, just be here, noticing as we reach the fingertips in opposite directions. Notice what we feel, what happens in the body, what happens to the breath. And then take the left hand onto the top of the right leg. Take your gaze over towards the left, facing your knees. And again, starting to explore with that right arm. Making some little half circles, seeing if the arm can stay close to the floor or your mat. Noticing what the movement is like here in the right arm. Trying not to have any kind of moral judgments about what we find, thinking, oh, that's good or that's bad. But just noticing, well, that's interesting, or I've never noticed that before, or what is that? Bringing in maybe some finger wiggles, wrist circles, elbow bends. Good. Couple more breaths here to explore. Check in with your breath. Make sure you're not holding your breath. Good. And then release the left hand. Inhale both knees into center. Give yourself another big hug. And then either roll to one side or rock and roll up your spine. Build some momentum and roll right over your shins to find a tabletop pose. However you get there, we'll all meet in tabletop. Set yourself up well in your tabletop so your knees are under your hips. Place your shoulders right over your wrists, and then spread your fingers as wide as you can get them. Really, really wide. Wider than you think you have to. And press your hands down into the mat. And just for a moment, shift your weight slightly forward so that more weight comes into the hands, and just notice what this feels like. Try to get really specific on what you feel and where you feel it. Good. Exhale, sit the hips back to the heels. Go ahead and come up to just a little kneeling position on the heels. Maybe a little shake out of the hands. Good. So that's our starting place. No real, stretching or strengthening exercises yet. Then we're going to come back to that tabletop in a little bit and see what's different. All right. Shift forward. Place the hands down. And just some little stretches here. We're going to start again by spreading the fingers super duper wide as you can get them. And then start to notice the bottom knuckles of your hands. Yeah, notice those knuckles. See if you can weight them down into the floor stronger. And then start to lift just the heel of your hand off of the mat so that all of those big bottom knuckles are still rooted down. Pay particular attention to your thumb knuckle and just lift the very heel of the hand up. And it might not come up very far. I don't know if you can even see that, but I'm lifting the very heel of my hand just maybe half an inch up. And that's where we can start to feel the strength of the hand and the wrist. And then switch sides, go to your second side hand. Weight your bottom knuckles down. Lift the heel of the hand. I don't know about you, but this is my left hand and it's a lot harder than my right hand. Definitely not as strong over here. Do a couple reps of that. Good. All right. And then again, take the hips back to the heels. Shake the hands out. Ooh. All right. All right. Shift forward. And this time, turn the backs of your hands down to the mat. And press all 10 fingertips down into the mat. We might stay here. We might start to shift the weight back towards the heels so that we get a little bit of a stretch on the backs of the wrists here. And see if you can keep the shoulder blades moving down away from the ears here. Notice if the shoulder blades want to creep up next to the ears. See if we can keep the neck nice and long and loose. Good. Exhale, release that, shake it out. Shift forward. Plant the hands. Turn your fingertips out to the sides of the mat. If that feels okay, maybe start to turn them back to face towards your knees. And then if the fingertips are towards the knees, once again, we might stay here. We might start to shift the weight back slightly towards your heels. A little stretch on the back side of the wrists. And see if the fingertips can stay Pretty active, planting down into the mat. Maybe a little shift from side to side just to see how that feels, if it makes a difference. Good. Exhale, shift the weight forward. Turn the fingertips back around. Oh, yeah. Shake it out. All right. And then clasp the fingers together. You can stay kneeling if you'd like, or if you're more comfortable in a cross-legged seat, feel free to take that, wherever you're comfortable. We're going to cross the hands together like you're holding hands with yourself. And then just start to make some infinity signs with the wrists. Rolling them back and forth, little figure eights. Good. And then try to go the other way. Why is that so hard the other way? Am I even going the other way? There we go. Yeah, get both ways in there. Good exercise for the brain also. Okay, and then switch the clasp of your hands. It'll probably feel a little bit weird. You'll have your other index finger on top, and then make sure you cross your other thumb on top as well. Same thing. Little figure eights, infinity signs, and switch. Great. Do some little finger wiggles. Get all the phalanges moving. Great. And then we'll come back and place the hands down onto the mat. Take your right hand and make a fist, crossing your thumb over your fingers. And then you'll take the back of that hand and place it down on the mat. Keep your thumb where it is. Keep your fingers tucked in really tight in that fist. Maybe we'll start to straighten the elbow here. Keeping the back of the hand on the mat. Keeping all the fingers tucked in. Keeping the thumb over. Starting to get a stretch on the back of the hand. And I like to kind of roll from my pinky finger to my index finger. And notice what I feel there. So we might still have a really bent elbow. That's okay. Wherever we are, we're just feeling into the back of the hand. All of those muscles that work all day for us. Good. Shake that out. Right hand comes down. Go to the left hand. Make that fist. Thumb crossing over the fingers, really squeeze the fingers into the fist. And then with a bent elbow, we'll place the back of the hand down to the mat. Maybe the elbow starts to straighten a little bit. Notice any differences that you feel from side to side. Like my left hand feels so much looser than my right hand. I don't use it as much. Make sure those fingers are staying tucked in there. Good. And then release that, shake it out. Whew. Okay. Now we're going to get into the feet a little bit as well. Tuck your toes under so that all 10 of your toes are tucked under on the mat. I like to reach back and get my little pinky toes under there. They try to escape. This is called toe pose. And depending on how this feels in your body, for less weight on the feet, we can come all the way up to a high kneeling position like this. If this doesn't feel too bad, we can start to sink the weight back onto the heels. We might come to sit all the way down onto the heels. And then to distract ourselves from how much our feet hurt right now, we're gonna make those fists like we just did, and we'll bring the backs of our hands to our side ribs, kind of close up to your armpits. And then so that you can see what we're doing here, we're gonna start to open the hands really, really wide, spread the fingers apart, and then curl them back into those fists. Spread wide and curl in. And we might not quite get all the way into that fist position. We'll start to feel the forearms here. Let's do about 10 of those. Whew. And then notice if you're holding your breath. Notice if your shoulders are squeezing towards your ears, trying to help you here. If your jaw is clenching. We're doing a lot, so the areas that don't have to be working hard and clenching and moving, see if you can let them be still. Good. And then release that. Come all the way up, reach the hands to the sky. Bring the tops of the feet to the mat and give them a little pat. Take a deep breath. Great. Ooh, all right. And then come all the way back into that tabletop position. And just notice. Start to shift the weight forward a little bit. Notice if this feels different than when we first started, before we did any of these exercises. See how it feels. Nice. And then on your inhale, start a little cat and cow cycle. Rounding the spine and then arching the spine. And see if you can keep the hands sealed down to the mat. Find those bottom knuckles. And then your fingertips are going to stick down to the mat like little sticky frog hands. And see if you can maintain that seal. What in yoga is called hasta bandha, which is your hand lock, while you move your spine. Good. On your next inhale, we'll meet back in a tabletop pose. And then take the hips back to the heels. Take a child's pose. Reach the arms out in front of you. Let the arms still be active here. Hands reach down into the mat, almost like you could slide your mat forward away from you, underneath you. Hollow out your armpits, straighten your elbows. Good. And then lift your hips just enough so you can tuck your toes under, straighten your knees, find downward facing dog. Can you keep your hasta bandha in your down dog? We might move forward and back through the legs here. Take some little movements. See if you can do that, keeping the hands sealed down. Find especially the bottom knuckle of your index finger and the bottom knuckle of your thumb and then the bottom knuckle of your pinky finger. That's kind of your tripod, sealing your hands down. And then maybe with that tripod and with all 10 of your fingers rooted down to the mat, you can lift just a little bit in the very center of your palm like a suction cup. Good. On your exhale, come forward, find plank. Set your knees down, child's pose. Keep the hands where they are. Tuck your toes, downward dog. Exhale, come forward, plank. Knees come down, child's pose. Inhale, downward dog. Exhale, plank. Child's pose. Start to flow like this. Find your breath. As you move, feeling your hands, your arms. What do you feel change and become different? As you move between these poses, good. Take a few more rounds. And then the next time you're back in child's pose, walk the hands back towards your knees. Bring your hands all the way behind you. And if you have a block or something to put your hands on, this is a great place for it. We're going to take that same positioning, either fingertips out wide towards the long edge of your mat, or maybe they turn all the way around and face towards your toes. And then on your inhale, press your shins down into the mat and lift your hips to your degree. Reach your heart up towards the sky. Maybe the head drops back only if it feels really comfy. Exhale, drop the hips. Bring the hands forward. Tense your fingertips. I like to think of these like those little glass containers that like go over cupcakes. You're going to make little cupcake holders with your hands. Your fingers are rounded, so make sure you're not dumping into the knuckles. Nice, smooth little cupcake holders. Don't squish the frosting on your cupcake under there. Round your spine all the way to your low back. Duck your head in. So it's kind of like what we do in our cat and cow. On your inhale, drag your hands back. Lift the hips, lift your heart. Exhale, hips come down. Hands reach forward. Cupcake holders round your spine. Inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, one more. Good. Inhale, come all the way up. And then slide the hands forward, downward facing dog. Good. On your next inhale, lift your right heel up. Bend your right knee, stack your right hip on top of your left hip. Yeah, and then start to just make some hip circles here. They might be fast or slow. You might move through your spine a little bit. Just warm up that hip joint. Good. And then on your next exhale, step your right foot forward in between your hands. Spin your back heel down at a 90-degree angle. And then cartwheel your arms out wide, warrior two. I'm going to switch sides real quick just so you can see. Let's find our warrior two stance. So seal all four edges of your front foot down into the mat. Front toes point straight towards that short edge. And then your front thigh is moving towards being parallel with your mat. Your back foot, your back toe creases are going to be even with the long edge of your mat. Press through the outer edge of your back thigh. Lift the inner arch of your back foot. And then your fingertips are going to reach in opposite directions. Good. And then here, keep your legs exactly the same. Don't move them. Flex your wrist, point your fingertips up at the sky. Exhale, pull your fingers together like a pinch, and then pull them towards the underside of your arm. One of my students calls these crab hands. Inhale, stop in the name of love. Exhale, crab hands. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And notice, like I notice here, it's much harder for me to press through the inner edge of my right hand, where my index finger and thumb are, than it is on the outside of the hand. So just notice what you feel here. Keep the legs nice and strong. Keep hugging up through the belly. Good. Inhale. And then release that. Maybe a little eagle flap of your arms. Good. Straighten your front knee. Turn all 10 of your toes towards the long edge of your mat. Firm up through your belly. Inhale here. Take your hands to your hips. And then hinge at your hips and take a forward fold. Hands can come down to rest on blocks or books or pillows or your coffee table. They might come all the way down to the floor. Let your head and your neck completely release so that your gaze is going back towards your belly button. And then shift your weight slightly forward in your feet, more towards the ball of the foot. Inhale, lift up about halfway to a nice flat spine. Firm your belly. Bring your hands to your hips, nice and strong. Hinge up the way that you came. Good. And then turn your front toes towards the front of your mat. Bend into your front knee. Spin your arms down. If you want to take a vinyasa flow here, you're welcome to. If not, we'll all meet back in downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, lift your left leg, bend your left knee, open your hips, and then start to take some hip circles. Be mindful of the hands, even though the leg is moving. Can you keep that hasta bandha in your hands? Good, and then exhale and step the left foot forward. Spin your back heel down. Warrior 2 on your second side. Check in with your front foot, your back foot. Lift up through the belly. Reach the fingers away. Good. And then again, flex the fingers. Pinch and pull under. Flex. Pull it all together. Take a few more. Notice if it's different on this side. Good. Warrior 2, shake it out, flap the arms, straighten that front knee, turn all 10 toes forward, and then just take a big starfish stretch. Good. Pull everything in towards center, firming the belly, activate your core, put a little bend in your knees. On your next exhale, jump together. Great. Okay, now let's do just a little bit more cooling down of the hands. Take the backs of your hands together here. And press the backs together. And then maybe the elbows start to drop a little bit, increasing the tension, pressing the hands together. Good. And then let that go. Take a nice big inhale all the way up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, release, and take a long forward fold. Releasing the head and the neck, letting the shoulders stay soft. And then on your next inhale, root down through the feet to reach all the way up to the sky. On your exhale, bring your hands to your heart. And we'll close here in standing today. So find a comfortable standing position. Plant your feet well. The hands can stay at the heart or they can come down by the sides. Might stack the hands on top of the heart, whatever feels comfortable today. Just let the eyes close for a couple of breaths. Feel into the body. Noticing your energy. Noticing any differences between now and how you felt when you began class, either physically, mentally, emotionally. Good. And let the eyes just gently flutter open. And take the hands just in front of you like an offering in any way that's comfortable. And just take a moment to say thank you to your hands for everything that they do for you all day, every day, for this wonderful, magical set of 10 fingers that we have that are so important to us. And just acknowledge your hands. And then thank yourself for doing your practice today, for learning something new, for moving your body. Thank you for practicing with me. Namaste. I'll see you next time.